Hi, Barbara.
Becky, how are you?
Made it.
Excuse me?
You made it.
I made it. I missed.
You're thinking.
Okay, Baruch Hashem.
How are you, Mario?
All right, and you?
Hey, how is everybody? Did Jojo
Everybody?
leave?
Okay,
Did
everybody.
Jojo leave?
Yeah, he's already more than a week away.
Well, what does he say?
He seems to like it. So,
Did they start class actually already?
yeah. On Thursday they started.
Very good.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So he seems to like it. So let's see.
Right.
What we're up to? What are we up to?
Chapter 10,
10. Good.
starting at the 10.
Starting.
Beginning of the parak.
Hi, Bernie.
Hello, Mario. How are you?
Good. Where's your wife?
She's occupied downstairs, but she's going to tune in on her own.
Okay.
Are the fine blooms in Israel?
No, they're going, I think, after Rosh Hashanah, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Are they doing halal? I guess.
I assume so.
Mhm.
Are you going?
I might be. I'm
I heard there
vague.
are a lot of people canceling their flights. This is what I'm hearing. People
I
made
was just in
reservations
New
for
York.
Sukkot.
Everyone I know is going. So they had tickets with what? With El Al or other airline?
I don't know. I'm just hearing that hotel reservations are being canceled.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Ernie.
Hi.
Hi, Ernie.
Hi, everybody.
Shabbat Tov.
We are Melachim Bet, Perik Yud.
What?
Melachim Bet, Perik Yud,
Good. Mm-hmm.
Pasuk Aleph. We're going to start the new Perik.
Mm-hmm.
Yehu ben Nimshi has killed Yoram and Achazyahu, the kings of Israel and Yehuda, and Izevel, beginning the fulfillment of the prophecy that had been told to Eliyahu. And this parak continues. Pasuk Aleph. Ula'achab shivim bonim b'Shomron. Achav had 70 sons in his capital city, Shomron. Vayichtov Yehu Svarim. Yehu wrote, he is going to do this in a trickery way. He wrote messages, Vayishlach Shomron, El Sarei Yisrael Askenim, the officers in Israel and in Shomron, and like the nannies, the caretakers of the children. Yehu is now in Israel where he killed Izevel. He has not yet gone to Shomron. Maybe he didn't want to go directly there because he was fearful that Ela ben Basha, who was killed by Zimri, and Ela had assassinated, so he was afraid of being assassinated himself. Shomron was a fortress city. There was a lot of weapons there. So he's going to try to do it in a little bit of an underhanded way. So when it says that he had 70 sons in Shomron, either he had a lot of wives, or that they were including grandchildren along with children. Chazal say, the Chomat Onach brings, that these are 70 sons that he had with one wife, Izevel. Now, how could that be?
Wow.
How could a woman give birth so many times to so many children? Not only that, the Yalkut Shimoni says that not only did he have 70 sons in Shomron, he had 70 in Israel. And the Chazal say each one had a summer palace and a winter palace. Anyways, comes out from all of this that the family of Achav was very big. And we're going to see, remember the prophecy was that Achav's family is going to be killed out. So when it says he sent many Sfarim, he sent to each an individual officer, the advisors, the caretakers, those that were raising the children. And what did he say? Ve'ata, now, kivor sefer zalechem. You're going to receive this message. Ve'itchem b'nei adonechem. You have amongst you the sons of Achav. Ve'itchem arechev asusim ve'ir mitzrav anashim. You have horses, chariots, a fortress city, and you have weapons. And therefore you have the power to protect the family of Achav. Now, it was known now that Yehu had killed Yoram Melech Israel, Achaziyahu Melech Yehuda. Now, you have to choose, he was basically telling them. Do you want to fight against me to keep this corrupt family of Achav alive? You want to keep Malchus Achav? And he's basically saying, if you do, you're going to have to go to war against me. Or surrender. And he was calculating that there were many people in the country that they'd have enough with Malchus Achav. And that there were many people who were fearful of him because he had the power to kill both of these kings. People also remembered the Nevuah of Eliyahu about Malchus Achav. So maybe the people believed that there was going to be a kiyum of the Nevuah that bad is going to come to the house of Achav. So he tells them, Pasuk Gimel, Urisema tova yashar mibnei adonechem.
Oh, that's you.
Uritema tova
Make it a little bit softer.
v'samtem al kisei aviv
Can't hear now.
If you're going to choose to go with the heirs of the Malchus,
What?
Silence your speaker.
I don't know how to do that.
Look at the bottom. There's a thing that looks like a microphone. Touch it.
I don't see it.
Come on.
It
Come
says
on.
mute.
Distracting everybody else.
I can't make the earpod work.
Don't talk.
Yehu was basically telling them that they should choose a king that's going to do right in the eyes of God. That there is nobody in the house of Achav who's going to do that. The Rambam in Hilchos Melachim,
I don't know how you mute yourself.
the Rambam in Hilchos Melachim gives a halacha on how the succession in the Jewish monarchy is supposed to go. Haben hagadol kodem lekatan mimen. An older son is supposed to get the malchus before the younger one. Not only that, says the Rambam, lo malchus pilvad ela kol asraros. Any position of leadership in Klal Yisrael, a Rosh Yeshiva, president of a shul, president of a school, kol haminuyin should be Yisrael Yerusha libno ben bno adoyla, can be handed down to his son and his sons forever. And that's why we see in yeshivas, the Rosh Yeshiva, either the son or the son-in-law is the Rosh Yeshiva. In community, in the Chassam Sofer, in Pressburg, he was the rabbi, his son was the rabbi, the grandson was the rabbi. Says the Rambam, Hu she'eh ben mamali mokom avosav b'chochma v'yira. There's a condition. The son has to be like the father in Chochma and Yira, in Yiras Hashem. And if he only had Yiras Hashem, even though he didn't have Chachma, you would appoint him, and then you would teach him what he needed to know. But if he had Chachma but no Yiras Shamayim, you would not appoint him. So if there's no Yiras Shamayim, there's no Din Yerusha. So these B'nai Achav certainly fulfilled this latter criteria, that they were not really roy to be in Malchus. So the group who had received these letters, the officers, the elders, Vayir'u me'od ma'od, they were very fearful. Vayomru ishnei shnei malachim lamdu lefanav, they made a kavachomer. If the two kings, Yehoram Melech Yisrael, Achaziyahu Melech Yehuda, couldn't stand in front of him, Eich namod anachnu, how are we going to stand in front of him? The ma'od ma'od is a double lashon, says the Iyeh. They were fearful of two things. Number one, they knew that there was a nevuas Eliyahu. Hineni mevi lecha ra'a uviyarti acharecha v'ichrati la'achav mashtin b'kir v'atzur v'azuv Yisrael. I'm going to destroy the house of Achav. So Hashem's not going to help them if they fight Yehu. It's just the opposite. There was also news that Yehu had been nimshach by Yonah Hanavi. So there's certainly no way that we're going to be able to get these sons of Achav into the kingdom. Okay. Vayishlach asher labayit, v'asher la'ir, v'azkenim v'onim, el Yehu le'mor v'adach anachnu. So the leaders of the city, the Zakanim, the nannies, who were doing the child rearing, sent word to Yehu, we are your servants. V'chol asher tomar eleinu naseh. Everything you tell us to do, we will do. Lo namlich ish atov beinech aseh. We will not appoint any of these king. You do what you think is best in your eyes. Vayishlach is not vayishlachu. So it's a Lashon Yachid. So either they all sent one letter. The Kliyakar says each one sent their own Shaliach. Again, so it was individual. Vayichtov aleihem sefer shenit lemor. So Yehu sends them another message. Im liatem, if you belong to me now, ulakoliatem shemim, and you're going to listen to my voice. Listen what they say here. Kechu et roshei anshev nedonechem. Take the heads of these sons of Achav, uvoe elai ka'es machar Yisrael, and bring them to me tomorrow. Uvnei hamelach shivim ish, as gdolei ha'ir megadlim son. The elders of the city are raising them. Now, when it says K'hu es roshei, bring the important people, the leaders, which is referring to the princes. It can also mean bring them as people, or
Their heads.
bring me their heads. So pasuk Zayin, Vayi kivos sefer aleihem. So when they received this message, Vayichut nemelach, they took the princes. Vayishchatu shivim ish. They removed their heads. They shechted them. Vayasimu et roshehem badutim. They put their heads like in a bag. Vayishlechu elav Yisrael, and they sent them. They sent the heads to Yehu ben Nimshi in Israel. Dude is a basket. They sent them with messengers. They were fearful to appear in front of Yehu because maybe they would be killed too. The Ralbag says they did it at night. so that the Amcha would not see it. So it's all of this obviously is happening Gzera Shemayim. All of these princes had guards and officers, but it happened. So you could see that there was Siyata Dishmaya. Pasuk Ches. Vayavo malach vayaged lo lemor. So a messenger comes to tell Yehu, Hevi Rosh Bnei Melech. They brought the heads of the princes. Vayomer, Yehu gives a command. Simu otam shnei tziburim petach hashar boker. This is according to Ralbag that it happened at night. Divide the heads into two piles. Leave the heads at the gate of the city. Like a pile of stones. The Petach Hashar is the Makam HaMishpat. That's where Beis Din sat. Now remember, Achav and Izebel had condemned Novos to death at the same place. Yehu was also using this as a mechanism to cause fear among the people, that they should fear him. The two piles, according to Chomat Onach, is to remind us of Achav and Izebel, that through they were evil and they gave birth to evil children. According to the Yalkut Shimoni that we said before, that there were 70 in Shomron and 70 in Israel, this was the two piles, 70 from here and 70 from there. Now, how did Yehu do this? When a Jewish person dies, there's a law, lo talin nivlato ala eitz, ki kavor tikbarena bayamahu. You can't let a dead body go overnight without burying it. Now, for statecraft, we saw David HaMelech allowed the Givonim to hang the family of Shaul a few months because it was Chilul Hashem. So Achav and Izebel had caused so much Chilul Hashem, and the kiyum of the Nevuah of Eliyahu, that they should be killed, is such a great Kiddush Hashem. So Yehu wanted to make sure that the people saw what had happened, which is a tikkun of the Chilul Hashem that was done by Achav and Izebel. And therefore, it was permitted for him to violate the law of Lo Soli. Pasuk Tes. Vayiba Boker, Vayetze Vayamod. Yehu comes out of the palace and stands at the gate where the heads are. And he tells the people, Vayomer kol ha'am tzadikim atem. You are not guilty of this. You are, in my eyes, tzadikim. Now, and you're gonna, Hineni kasharti al adoni ve'ergeru. Yes, I conspired against all of these princes to kill them. Umihi kad kolela. Not only that, I didn't kill them. It was your leaders in Shomron who killed them. But it's Gzeres HaMelech, and whoever kills them is a tzaddik, and it's Mekayim what Hashem wanted to do. That's how Rashi explains. It was all done b'Gzeres Shamayim.
The Minchas Chinuch adds to that it's really, he told them they were not murderers because they were fulfilling the prophecy, the Nevuah of Eliyahu Hanavi, who had said Achav and all of his family would be destroyed.
It was all done l'shem shamayim, and nobody was over any isser with any kind of responsibility. And that's why he said that they're tzaddikim.
Mhm.
Now, if an individual does an evil act, you can say he's a Rasha. But here, everybody participated in here. A tzibur cannot be a Rasha. Iyafshar liyot shekol hatzibur Yerushalayim. And it was the desire of Kadosh Baruch Hu that nobody should remain from the family of Acha. He also could have claimed, listen, I never said that I wanted their heads. I wanted the heads of the family to be brought to me. And they themselves did it themselves. The Shomron people did it. So it's not through the Koach of Yehu. He continues, Pasuk Yud. Du'u efo, ki lo yipol midvar Hashem artza, asher diber Hashem al beit Achav. Everything that was said in the name of Hashem, it's all going to happen. V'Hashem asad asher diber biyad avdo Eliyahu. Everything that Eliyahu prophesies has now come true. The Rambam makes a comparison between Nevi'im, prophet, and fortune tellers. This is in the Yesodei HaTorah, Perek Yud. V'halo ha'ma'onanim v'ha'kosmim omri masha osid lios. There were fortune tellers. People looked at palms, and they would tell what happens in the future. But what's the difference when a Navi foretells the future? Because even those that had that ability, some things would come true, some things would not come true. There's a raya from Yeshayahu, HaChozim ba'kochavim modi'im lechodashim asher yavu alayich, that they look in the stars, some things occur, some things don't occur. Aval hanavi kol dvarav kayami. We learn it from this pasuk. Ki lo yipol midvar Hashem artso. If a Navi says something, it's going to occur. And Yehu did not stop. Vayach Yehu et kol hanisharim levet achav b'Yisrael. Any family that remained in Israel, v'chol gdolav u'miyudav v'kohanav, his advisors, the priests, ad bilti yishur lo sarit. Nobody remained. Relatives, friends, Kohanim to the Baal, those that worshipped on the Bamais. Vayakom, Vayavo, Vayelech Shomron. It should say Vayekim, Vayelech Vayavo. So the Ralbag says, first he went home to get his chariot, and then he went to Shomron. Kli Yakar says he did it secretly, that first he got up from Israel and went. And then all of a sudden, later on, he went to Shom. And then who does he meet up with? There is a place where the shepherds gather, or some say where the shepherds shear the wool of their sheep. And who is there? Yehu matzah et Achiel Chazyahu Melech Yehuda. He finds he had killed Achazyahu Melech Yehuda. And if you remember, Achazyahu Melech Yehuda had killed all of his brothers. That's how he became king. So when it says Achei, the Radak says these were his nephews, the nephews of Achazyahu, the sons of the brothers of Achazyahu had killed. They had these sons before the fathers had been killed. And Yehu says, "Vayomer miyatem, Vayomer achei Achazyahu anachnu." We are the brothers of Achazyahu, which we've now explained means nephews. Vanerid l'shlom bnei melech. They had not heard that Achazyahu Melech had been killed, and we had come down to see how he's doing. Well, that was a bad move. Pasuk Yedalid, Vayomer titfasu chayim. Yehu gave instructions to grab them alive. Vayitpasum chayim. Vayishchatumi. They cut their heads off too. El bor beit eken, until their heads fell into the pit where this place was. Arba'im u'shnayim ish v'lo yishir ish me'am. 42 people. To increase the vengeance against the house of Acha. They were also from the Har. Pasuk Tezvav. Vayelech misham. Vayimsa es Yonadav ben Rechab likraso. Vayivarchem. Yonadav is a tzaddik who is the descendant of Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu. And Yehu gives him a shalom aleichem. Vayomer elav, and he says to Yehu says to Yonadav, Hayeshet levavcha yashar, kasher levavim levavecha, is your heart straight like mine? Vayomer Yonadav yesh vayesh tznat yadecha, give me your hand. They shake hands. There's tkiyas kaf. Vayitein yado vayaleu lav leverkav, and he brings it into his chariot. It's like a covenant. It's like a bris, and you can conclude a bris by shaking hands. Pasuk in Divrei Yomim v'kol hasarim v'giborim v'gam gol bnei HaMelech David natnu yad tachat Shlomo HaMelech. They made an agreement that they're going to make Shlomo the king. There is a machlokas rishonim. What is the halachic significance of shaking hands? Rabbeinu Tam says shaking hands is like you made a bris with the person. You made a covenant. To shake on it.
Tzidkiyahu
Tzidkiyahu HaMelech shook hands with Nebuchadnezzar that he would never reveal that Nebuchadnezzar had eaten a live rabbit. But eventually he did. He went back. He didn't hold with that oath that he did with the shaking hands. It's similar to making a shvuah.
I need to get a
The Torah brings Rabbeinu Tam
charger.
by Tkiyas Kaf. The Ktos brings the Rashba that it's not like an oath. It's just that if you go back against what you agreed to by shaking hands, it's an avla. It's a bad thing. Who is this Yehonadav? So we find a little bit more about him in Yirmiyahu, Perek Lamed Hey. There we see that he commands his sons not to drink wine. The Bnei Yehuda at that time were Balei Aveira. So he told them not to live in the city, not to even participate in agriculture, because he was afraid they would be influenced, his children, from the evil that was around them in the regular cities. He said, leave your houses, don't mix with the regular people. From there we see Yehonadav was a tzaddik. And Yehu took him as a moral guide who will always direct him in the right way. And if he sees that Yehu's doing something wrong, we'll put him on the straight and narrow.
Bernie, the Me'am Lois adds that Yonadav was part of the tribe of Cani, which were nomads. Like you said, they didn't settle in near any of the other cities because they didn't want to be influenced. So they managed to be also, Yonadav was a student of Otniel ben Kenaz, or the tribe of the Cani were students.
Right, the Cani were from Yisro.
Right.
Now, there's an interesting mechilta that you see right now. We've been calling him Yehonadav with a hey. Later on, they will refer to him without the hey, Yonadav. And the Medrash says, Mitchila yukarno so Yehonadav, ucheshabal oisamaisa, pachsulo oisachas v'nikra Yonadav. There's a din al yischaber la'adam rasha. Don't connect to an evil person. And we saw that by Yehoshaphat when he connected with Achazyahu. And also, Yonadav was a tzaddik when he was mischaber Yehu. Up until now, we've seen that Yehu was a tzaddik. But we're going to see that Yehu is also going to be considered a Rasha. Later on, they're going to take a letter Hey away from Yonadav as well. He's going to be called Yonadav. Some say it's not the same Yehonadav, so we won't go into that. Tezayim. So Yehu invites Yehonadav. Vayomer l'chayiti. Come with me. Ure'ei b'kinati l'Hashem. I am not finished with my zealotry for Hashem. Right? Kanos. Who is the famous Kanoi? It's Pinchas. Pinchas who killed Zimri.
Yeah, Yisma.
Who had relations with Cosby publicly. Kanos means you do something spontaneously. You don't plan and premeditate. It comes just zdamazoi. It has to be without preparation. And Yehu was going to take Yonadav along with him on his next phase of revenge for Hashem. What is this? Vayavo Shomron. He comes now to Shomron. Vayachet kol anishim la'achav b'Shomron. Anyone that remains from the house of Achav, he destroys Adish Mido Kidvar Hashem Asher Diber Lelio. Now comes what he brought Yonadav for him to watch. Vayibotz Yehu et kol ha'am. Yehu gathers the people. Vayomer aleim Achav avad et habal ma'at. Achav avad et habal ma'at. Yehu yavdenu harbe. You know, Achav worshiped the Baal little. You're going to see, I am going to worship the Baal much bigger. This was a trick. He's now going to gather all the worshipers of Baal to destroy them. And he meant that in the time of Achav, we learned, they were dancing in both chasnas. Sometimes they'd go to shul, sometimes they'd worship the Baal. And you know what? Achav was punished because he didn't worship the Baal enough. I'm going to worship him greatly. And that's the pretext that he said, now we've got to gather all the Nevi'ei Baal, the prophets of the Baal, the priests of the Baal, all in one place. We're going to see this Yehu Yavdenu Harbe that he uttered is going to come back to haunt him. Pasuk Yutes. Ve'ata kol Nevi'ei Baal. I want all the prophets of Baal, of Dav, all the people who worship Baal, the Chol Kohan of the priests, Kiru Elai. I'm calling them, Ish al Yipaked, no one should be missing. Ki Zevach Gadol Lila Baal. We're going to offer korbanos to the Baal. Kol Asher Yipaked lo yicheh, whoever doesn't participate will not live. The Yehu Asa be'akba. Akba means in a cunning fashion. Leman Avid Edov Baal. His purpose in doing all this is he's finally going to put an end to the worship of Baal in Eretz Yisrael. Vayomer Yehu kadshu atzara labal vayikaru. That means invite on a holiday, like atzeret. Atzeret means a place of gathering where the people stop and they don't work, and they're going to come and worship the Baal. The Sforno in Parshas Emor, commenting on when we talk about Shmini Atzeres, in Yana Atzira, not just to stop working. You're going to stand in one place to worship Hashem. B'Torah, b'Tfilo, b'Avoda. So, like it says in Yoel, Kidshu Tzom Kiru Atzara. So that here he's faking it, and he's saying we want to declare an Atzeres for the Baal. Vaishlach Yehu b'chol Yisrael. Messengers were sent to all of Israel. Vayavo kolav de'abal. They all came. Lo nishar ish asher lo ba. Nobody did not come. Vayavo beit habal. There was a temple to the Baal. Vaymale beit habal pelapeh. Pelapeh means from one opening to the other opening. from one corner to the other corner. Vayomer la'asher ala meltacha. The meltacha is the place of the wardrobe where they kept the clothing. It appears that those who would worship the Baal would wear special clothing. And this special clothing was distributed so that the worshippers of the Baal would wear them. The Malbim tells us what's going on here. First of all, Yehu's going to kill all those that worship Avodah Zarah. So we're going to discuss this soon on what right did he have to kill them, but he wanted to make sure that he killed those that are Bichayv Misa. Maybe there were onlookers coming, looky-loos. So a looky-loo is not going to wear that special, is not going to wear that special malbush that you wear when you're actually worshiping the Baal. So he wanted to make sure that he's only going to kill those that are actually committing the Avodah Zarah. And also, if they run away, they're going to be identifiable because they're going to be wearing that special malbush. That's how the Malbim explains. Do you know the Malbim was in the running? I just heard in a lecture this week. You know, in 1902, the RJJ, Rav Yaakov Yosef, who was a big dayan in Vilna, was invited to come to be the first chief rabbi of New York. The Malbim was in the running for that. So was Rav Meir Simcha of Dvinsk. So it's unbelievable, the Gedolim that were potential candidates to be the first chief rabbi. Eventually was RJ, and in this school, RJJ is named after Rav Yaakov Yosef. Hozachav Gimel. Vayavo Yehu v'Yonadav ben Rechev Beit Abal. Yehu and his companion Yonadav comes to this house of Baal. Vayomer lo avdei Baal. He told the worshippers, Chapsu uru'u penyesh por machem avdei Hashem. See if there are worshippers of Hashem himself, not the Baal. Kim ovdei Baal of them. There should only be in this Beis Baal worshippers of the Baal. Again, he wanted to make sure he's not going to kill innocent people. And that any of the Hashem should leave here. The Sefer Hasidim says, Shlosha ponim asurin liros. You may not look upon three faces. Pnei Avodah Zarah, Pnei Isha, Pnei Rasha. So Pnei Rasha, it says in Melachim Beis that Elisha had said to Yehoram, Im abit elecha v'imerecha. I'm not going to look at your face anymore. Pnei Isha, Shelo haisa rishoyis hashunamis likanis v'nei Elisha. Dichsiva tamod b'petach. Remember, in Perek Daled, where we learned about the Isha Shunamit, who was a great Machnis Oireach, and she built a special area for Elisha and put a kisei and a mita and a shulchan and a menorah. It says she stood outside, and the Midrashim tell us it's because you're not allowed to stare at the face of a woman for tznius reasons. You're not allowed to look at Avodah Zarah. This al tifnu ela elilim. So tifnu is from the word ponim. However, bishvil pikuach nefesh, you can look at all three, because Yonadav went into the base of Avodah Zarah to check that there were no innocent people, so nobody who was a tzaddik would be killed. And it must be here also that it wasn't mamish Avodah Zarah mamish, because remember, if it's Avodah Zarah mamish, it's yaharik v'lo yavor. You can't, even if you would lose your life, you wouldn't be able to violate the Avodah Zarah. Pasuk Chavdal. Vayavo lasod zvachim volot. They had come and they were going to sacrifice animals. V'yehu samlo bachutz shmonim ish. Yehu set up 80 soldiers outside. Vayomer ha'ish asher maleit bin anashim. Anyone who escapes from this house, asher ani mevi al yedechem nafsho tachat nafsho. If you let anybody get away, I will kill you instead. Now, you know that for Beis Din to kill you for worshiping Avodah Zarah, you have to do one of 4 acts. So you have to shecht, you have to do zrika sadam. So here, that's why they want. Yehu made sure that they shechted to the Baal, because therefore they're going to be chayv misa. Some of the Meforshim explain, if all the worshippers of Baal in all of Israel could fit into this one building, must be that and they only needed 80 people to kill all of them, that the prophets and the Kohanim of Baal probably was not that many people, maybe a few hundred. A house at that time, based on structural things, couldn't really hold that many more people. The Meforshim estimate that there were the population of Israel at this time was about 1 million. Because in the time of David, when he did a census with men, women, and children, there were about 1 million people. And now, a few hundred years have gone by, there's probably going to be more.
Ernie, can you speculate why Yehu found it necessary to threaten the guards that if he let any of them escape, they would lose their lives?
He wants to show how
That's pretty
serious
heavy-handed.
he wants to show how serious he is. He doesn't want any of them to escape. I agree. I think it's just a matter of striking the fear of God into them that they're going to carry out his orders. So the point I wanted to make that the EAM makes here, look at this. There's not that many people who are worshiping Avodah Zarah. But we have a thing called Arvus. Kol Yisrael Arivim Zelazeh. Even though it's just a minority. But you see, Klal Yisrael is gonna undergo a downfall because of this. And its leadership. Because of this principle of Kol Yisrael Arivim Zelazeh. And even if a minority of us are doing the wrong thing and we're not protesting and we're not helping, we are blamed. It's fearful. Chafei. Vayike chalato lasota ola. So now they've shechted. Vayomer Yehu laratzim v'lashalishim. He tells the runners and the officers, Bo hikum yishal yetzei. Strike them down. Don't let them out. Vayakum lefi cherev. They were all struck with the sword. Vayashlichu haratzim v'shalishim v'alchu ad ir beit Baal. And some even tried to run into the city of the Baal. The Shalishim are officers. And among them are the 80 that he set up. The Vayashlichu, that which they threw their corpses outside. Now, what is the type of execution that if someone is judged in Beis Din that you get when you worship Avodah Zarah? Because skila, if you worship Avodah Zarah, you're not, sayif is where your head is cut off with a sword, that's called hereg. But skila is used as the method of death if you worship Avodah Zarah. So how could they be killed with a different method of death? Number 2, Beis Din cannot execute unless you give somebody hasra. You have to say, you know that if you shech this animal to the Baal, you're going to be put to death with skila. And it has to be done, toch kedei dibur, within a few seconds of when they actually carry out. That's why it says a bezdin that executed somebody once every 70 years was called a hanging bezdin, because it was almost impossible for bezdin to execute someone. So we have a few questions. How did they kill them with the sword? So we've had this before. We're going to explain the Rambam. This is Midin Melech. This is a king's order. Says the Rambam in Hilchos Malachim, Yesh LaMelech Reshut Lahargo Ulatakena Olam Kafi Masha Sha'at Tzricha. A king can, remember David HaMelech kills Uriah Hiti as part of the Gzeres HaMelech, according to what he thinks the need is. And Harigat HaMelech Tamid Becheref. When the death is being meted out by the king, it's with a sword. Yehu had a strategic thought. He thought this was all part of the tzivui of the Navi of wiping out the house of Achav. What would be the point of wiping out the house of Achav, but the Baal remains? There would be no purpose for the killing of Achav, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu obviously also wants to clean up Klal Yisrael from worshiping Avodah Zarah.
Ernie, can I add a comment from the Kli Yakar regarding the lack of Hasra here? He says, Yehu's soldiers all saw and knew with certainty, so that there was no need to bring them before a court and have witnesses testify against them. Perhaps Yehu and his men were considered a Sanhedrin, for there were 81 of them, 10 more than was needed for the decision to kill these worshippers of Baal.
Okay, that's his shot as to why there was 80. By the way, a bezdin of 23 can execute. There was a Sanhedrin HaGadol in Yerushalayim, 71, but there were many regional Batei Din in Yehuda and Binyamin in the Galil, and they had 23, and a bezdin of 23 can also execute. That's just a side. What was that?
You said 71.
I said, Bernie is bringing that maybe the 80, because if you at least you had the 71, a big Sanhedrin. But I'm pointing out against that, you don't need 71 to kill. But it's a pshat, I hear. Pasuk Chavav. Vayotziut matzvot beit habal vayisrafua. Now you notice they didn't have mizbeach, they had a matzeva. Matzeva is like a stone monument. They took all of them out of this base of and they burnt them. Vayitzu matzeva, they also broke them up into pieces. Vayitzu et base habal, they destroyed the house. Vayasimu lemotzaot adayom. Oh, they used it for latrines, for bathrooms. Vayashmed Yehu et Baal Yisrael, and Yehu wiped out Baal forever from Eretz Yisrael. Rak Chataei Yeravam ben Nevada she'achtit Yisrael losar Yehu ma'achreim. If you remember, the first Chote Umachti Yeravam ben Nevada had set up two egels, Eglei Hazov, Asher Beit El, Asher Bedan. He did it because he didn't want Klal Yisrael going up, making Aliyah to Yerushalayim, because he was concerned that they would follow the Balchus Beis David and not stay with him. Yeravam continues this practice. He had the same worry. And because he didn't destroy these Agolim, he's also considered a Chote Umachti. It's considered a great sin for him. Yet, Pasuk Lamed praises him. Vayomer Hashem El Yehu, Yan asher tivuta lasot yashar beinai, because you have fulfilled the good in my eye. Kechol asher bilvavi asita lebeit Achav, everything that I had said in my heart to be done to the house of Achav. B'nei Revim yesh v'lecha kisei Yisrael. You will have 4 generations of kings from you. And they are Yehoachaz, Yehoash, Yeravam, and Zachrehu. Those are the 4 kings that's how the Radak tells us. The Navi Yonah is who's telling this. When it says Vayom Hashem Yehu, it's through Yonah ben Amittai. That's what Rashi says. So the 4 generations that will rule following Yehu is because Yehu destroyed the house of Achav. There were 4 generations. Omri, right, who's the first Rasha, Achav, Achaziyahu, and Yoram. Pasuk Lamed Aleph. V'yehu lo shamar lalechet b'toras Hashem lokei Yisrael b'chol levavo. Yehu did not follow the path of Torah with all of his heart. Lo sarme al chatot Yeravam asher achtit Yisrael. He did not leave from the sin of Yeravam about the Eglei Azov. Now that Hashem promised, the Malbim says, now that Hashem promised him that he's going to have 4 generations, what is he? Remember, we said one of the reasons he didn't destroy the Eglei Azov is because he was concerned that the people would flee back to the Malchus Beis David. But it shows lack of bitochen in Hashem. He was promised he's going to have 4 generations of king. So he didn't have to be afraid of that. So that's how Hashem got angry with him. Sanhedrin, Masechta Sanhedrin, Kuf Beis Amud Aleph. Yehu Tzadika Rabba. Yehu was a great tzaddik. And it quotes this pasuk. But then it quotes the pasuk that Yehu did not follow the Torah. What went wrong? The Gemara asks, "My Garmale, what happened to him?" Amra Baya Bris Krusar L'Svasayim. There is a covenant that Hashem makes with our lips, and we're going to say Al Tiftach Pela Satan. So he said, remember what he said? Achav avadet abal ma'at Yehu yavdenu harbe. He said it publicly. Now he meant it as a trick to bring all the worshippers of Baal, but he said, Achav worshipped the Baal a little. I'm going to worship the Baal a lot. So he violated that bris with his lips. Where is the source of this? A bris krusalish svasayim. It's a Gemara in Moed Katan Yud Ches Amud Aleph. Amrav Yochanan. Minayin shebris krusalish svasayim. How do we know that if you say something and it's a bad thing, it's going to haunt you, or it's going to come true? Vayomer Avram el Narav, by the Akedah, which we're going to read on the 2nd day of Rosh Hashanah. Very timely. Shvu lachem poem achamor. It's Yishmael and Eliezer. You stay with the donkey. Vani vanar nelchad ko. I and my son Yitzchak, the nar, he's 37 years old, but v'nishtachaveh v'nashuva aleichem. V'istayim milsa dehoder tarvayu. Avram said, we will return to you. And Hashem helped it that they all returned. So there's koyach in your mouth to fulfill something and to affect the future. Avram didn't know that they would come back. Otherwise, there would be no nisayon for him. What he said worked. Now, Rava argued with Abaye. Rava says that there was a different reason why he went bad. He saw that Achia Shiloni, remember, had signed a certain document that claimed that the Yeravam was not bad. He made a mistake. So why didn't he think that there was a problem with bris crucilis Svasayim? So Rava says, because really, Yehu didn't want to worship the Baal. It was a trick. So unless your mouth and heart are the same, it's not considered bris crucilis Svasayim. Interesting what the Ramban says. Somebody who's written and sealed on Rosh Hashanah that he's going to be killed. Then there's a murderer who kills him. He doesn't get off scot-free because there was some gzeira against the person, so the murderer gets off. No, who Rasha Bavono Yamus? He's a Russian. He'll be killed with his own because of his avon. Aval kasher teitzeh gzeira pinavi yesh ba'oseh osadinim. It depends. Kim shama'u tov ratzal osot ritzon borek nigzar. Sometimes a person may overhear the Navi saying something, and he's trying to carry out, then he won't have a sin. Pasuk Lamed Beis. Bayamim hahem echel Hashem lekatzos b'Yisrael. Because of these nisim that had occurred during Eliyahu and Elisha, and only until now, somebody stands up, Yehu, and tries to wipe out Avodah Zarah. It's like Hashem was holding back his anger and he couldn't hold it back anymore. So Hashem now begins to cut at Yisrael. Some say lachris, to destroy, limos, or to be sick of us, or to start paying us back. Initially, the punishments have been to the kings. Now the regular people are going to suffer. What happens? Vayakem Chazael b'chol bu Yisrael. Chazael, the Melech of Aram, begins to attack us on our borders. Those that live on the borders, both east of the Jordan, on the other side of the Jordan. And some say that they begin an exile. Those, right, Ruvain and Gad and Chatzi Shedon, they begin to be exiled. So there's the condition of Israel starts going down. And it tells us where. Min Yarden Mizrach HaShamesh, east of the Jordan, at Kol Eretz HaGilad, HaGadi, HaRuveni, VaMnashi, Me'aro Eresh, Al Nachal Anon, VaGilad, VaBashan. These were the areas captured from Sichon and Og, given to these 2.5 tribes. And Moshe Rabbeinu made a deal with them. If they come in and help, they can stay there. But they are the first ones who lose their portion in Eretz Yisrael as the punishments to Klal Yisrael begin. The Chassam Sofer thinks that they didn't completely fulfill what they promised to Moshe Rabbeinu. Others say no, it's just because it's natural law. People who live on a border, there's more danger there. And they need more schusim to be saved. And they didn't have the schusim. So that's why it started with them. The parak concludes, Yeser divrei Yehu v'chol asher asa v'chol gvura. The rest of the story of Yehu, Elohim ksuvim al sefer divrei Hayim Malchei Yisrael. Vayishkav Yehu ma'avosav, he died, vaygroso b'shomron, vayimloch Yehochaz b'no tachtav. Vayamim asher malach Yehu al Yisrael, esrim u'shmona shana b'shoma. He ruled 28 years. Okay, I would say long parak. I'm glad we accomplished it.
It's long and bloody.
Yeah,
This
This is real- this is like a war movie.
What was that?
Like inconceivable to us that a Jewish king should cut off their heads and not bury them. It's because we're too near October 7th. We think
I
of
think
barbarians.
Hamas,
doing this.
Hamas learned all the techniques
I
from
mean,
this.
it's awful.
Terrible.
Esty, we just have different weaponry today.
Yeah.
They had swords. They didn't have guns.
Ernie,
Yeah.
can I just add one thing more?
Leaving the
Bruce?
bodies around.
Oh,
Okay.
And they didn't have papers either.
Yeah, but Esty, this was predicted. Atzur Vazu. Remember,
Eliyahu.
Elio predicted there's a punishment
Right.
in the house of Achav.
Mhm.
Eliyahu also it's quoted from